What's up, guys? I wanted to make a quick video today comparing the intelligent microneedling pen to a traditional cheap Derma stamp that you can get off Amazon for like 10 or 15 bucks. I've been using the Derma stamp for 3 months, and then I just got the intelligent microneedling pen last week. This is the one that More Plates, More Dates sells, Derek, and I've gotten a chance to use it once so far, so I'm going to compare my experience between the two and hopefully help you figure out which one, if either, is the right choice, since I know there's a lot to take into consideration when you're trying to figure out which one to get. I know when I was first looking into microneedling and derma stamping, I was trying to figure out if it's worth justifying the cost for the intelligent microneedling pen or just buying the cheap ones. And hopefully I could help you guys answer that question and prevent you from having to go crazy doing a bunch of research and figure it out for yourself. So the first thing that I want to talk about, which is the obvious elephant in the room, would be the upfront cost of the microneedling pen compared to the derma stamp. So the pen I paid $99 for, and it comes with 2 cartridges. So you need to replace the cartridge each time you use it, once a week or so. You could get away with doing it less often, like once a month. I wouldn't recommend it because you want to keep the needles sharp and sanitized and all that. But either way, it was $35 for a 10-pack of replacement cartridges. So that's enough. Even if you replace the cartridge every single time, once a week, you would have enough for basically 3 months. And the derma stamp from Amazon, I paid $15 a piece for those. I ordered 3 of them when I first started, and I used them like 4 times before I threw them out. So obviously it's a lot more upfront for the microneedling pen from More Plates, More Dates, or Intelligent, whatever it is. So if you're looking to spend less money up front, it's pretty obvious what the winner would be there, in my opinion. But there's more to it than that, because the next thing that I want to talk about is the long-term cost. So with the microneedling pen, like I said, it's $99 up front, and then a 10-pack of replacement cartridges was 35 bucks. So basically $3.50 each time you replace the cartridge. Whereas with the derma stamp, you have to replace it and pay about $15 every time. So in the long run, aside from the upfront cost, the derma stamps are going to be 4 to 5 times more expensive to replace each time. So if you're planning on doing this for the long term, which I assume if you're using this for hair loss or hair loss prevention, hair regrowth, whatever you want to call it, I assume you're going to be using it for the long term. So in that case, it seems like it would make a lot more sense to go with the microneedling pen long term, in my opinion. Another thing that I want to talk about is efficiency in terms of how much time it takes to actually perform the procedure. With the derma stamp, I have a video on my channel of myself doing this already. It took me a pretty long time to cover my whole head because I'm doing it manually. I'm stabbing myself in the scalp with these, little needles. And even with the amount of time that it took me to do it, I don't feel like I really did a great job, because I only basically did 1 pass around my entire head and my face, and it took me like 20 minutes. And that's only 1 pass because you're doing it manually. Whereas when you're using the pen, you can pretty much just glide it across your scalp and across your face if you're doing it on your beard. And it's like rapidly moving in and out of the pen into your face or your scalp. So even though you're only doing 1 pass physically, theoretically, the pen is really doing like 5 or 10 passes because it's going in and out of your scalp so fast that it's just so much more efficient. Also, just in general, it gets done a lot faster in my experience. With the one time I used it, I was done in probably 10 minutes. And part of that was also me figuring out how to use the pen for the first time. So I think after I get used to it and do it a few more times, it'll probably be even faster in the future. So I would have to give the intelligent pen the victory on that one. Another thing to take into consideration would be the surface area. So the derma stamp obviously has a much larger surface area. So theoretically, you could assume that it would cover more square inches on your scalp per pass, if that makes sense. Each time you stab yourself with it, it's basically covering more area. But in practice, it doesn't actually work out that way, because your scalp is not a completely flat surface. It's angular. It's got little divots in it and stuff like that. So even though you have this large area to work with, it's kind of like when you try and press it in, it comes in contact with a certain area, like whatever is protruding the most from your scalp. And that particular area will penetrate your scalp, but the rest of it really won't go into anything, if that makes sense. I'm not sure if I'm saying that in a way that's understandable, but basically it doesn't seem like the entire stamp goes into your scalp every time you press against yourself. So even though it has a larger surface area, it kind of seems like the pen is still easier to use and gets the job done better, in my opinion. Another thing to take into consideration would be pain, like the pain factor, how much it hurts to use. I would have to say the Intelligent pen hurt a lot more. I was using the Derma stamp at a 1.5 millimeter depth, and every time I would stab myself with it, it didn't really feel like it was hurting that bad. I felt it, but it wasn't anything too crazy. With the Intelligent pen, I dialed it down to like 1 millimeter, which is 2/3 of what I was doing with the stamp. And it hurt like incredibly bad, to the point where there was like tears coming out of my eyes, not like crying, but basically just, when something hurts, it kind of just makes your eye tear a little bit. That was happening to me. It was like incredibly painful, and it made my scalp a lot more red. My scalp stayed red from the Derma stamp for like a day or less every time I used it. And when I used the Microneedling pen, my scalp was literally red for like 3 days. And this is at a smaller depth too, so theoretically it shouldn't have even been as bad. It was to the point where when I went out in public 3 days later, it was like obvious that something had happened to me. It looked like maybe I had some skin condition, or, I stabbed myself with a Microneedling pen, which I did. So it seems like the pain is higher on the Intelligent pen, but that also, to me, kind of tells me that it's more effective, if that makes sense. So I would think it does a better job if it's making me that much more red, because that's what you're aiming for. You want your scalp to turn red. You want to basically hurt yourself with it to a certain extent and then make it heal later. So the redder it gets without actually bleeding profusely, I would say it's probably a good thing. And then one other thing that I want to talk about is just the size. Being able to travel with these specifically, because I'm traveling in and out of the country a lot. I go back and forth between the United States and Nicaragua. And if I'm going somewhere for 3 months, well, I guess 3 months doesn't really make that much of a difference because it would only be 3 Derma stamps. But let's say you were traveling for longer than that. If you had to carry one of these for like every time you need to replace the cartridge, that could add up to a pretty bulky traveling experience, taking up a lot of room in your bag, and also just pretty costly up front if you're going to be traveling around for like a year, let's say. Whereas with this thing, you just have the one pen, and then the cartridges themselves are replaceable, so it's only this tiny little cartridge. So you could carry, 100 of those in a bag and be set for years, and it would only take up like the size of this little box, which is nice. So for traveling around, I would have to go with the pen. It's just a lot more convenient. So hopefully that helped answer some of your questions and helps you make a decision about whether to go with the Microneedling pen or the Derma stamp. I am going to be releasing a video this week showing how I use the Microneedling pen. So it's basically going to be like a tutorial showing you how I use it. If you have any other questions, make sure to drop a comment below, and don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time.